Republicans across the country are quickly finding out that town halls have become ground zero for the growing resistance to their policies and their president. Let's watch.
I feel like we all took this oath to defend the nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I wonder if you knew, if you saw that there was overwhelming evidence that a foreign country was meddling in our elections and meddling with our democracy.
You guys just want to investigate everybody with something.
Unfortunately, that was our last question.
How about Benghazi? And you guys wasted a lot of money on Benghazi, wasted a little on Trump. I'm on Obamacare. If it wasn't for Obamacare, we wouldn't be able to afford insurance. With all due respect, sir, you're the man that talked about the death panel. Yep. We're going to create one great big death panel in this country that people can't afford to get insurance. Don't repeal Obamacare. Improve it, for God's sake.
The last I heard, these coal jobs are not coming back, and now these people don't have the insurance they need because they're poor. And they work those coal mines, and they're sick. The veterans are sick. The veterans are broken down. They're not getting what they need. If you can answer any of that, I'll sit down and shut up like Elizabeth Warren.
Damn.
Okay.
I don't know who I love more, her or the guy talking about Obamacare. That guy was great.
No. So, look, I don't know how all these folks are coming out. I'm actually shocked by it myself. And, you know, we're going to look into it because it's amazing how many people are coming out.
I think I know how. It's the rise of the internet and the ease with which you can communicate that these events are even happening. Some of the protests that I've gone to in LA, I found out about that day because they were shared on Facebook or on Twitter or something like that. And now, I mean, that's not even to get into like Michael Moore's like consolidated spreadsheet of all of the town halls across the country. It's very easy. If something's happening, you can let people know, and then they can go.
Yeah, so the reason that the conservatives assume that, and as Trump says, oh, they're paid liberal activists or whatever, is because that's what Trump has done and Republicans have done. Remember Trump's first press conference, he paid actors $50 a pop to show up to pretend to be his supporters.
Yeah.
So that's an acknowledged fact. And in terms of the Republicans, they would bring in buses already made out with anti-Obamacare signs, pick people up and bring them to events including town halls. So that's their MO. But I've seen them do it so well. And so when I see this, honestly, I wonder, like, Jesus, did somebody organize this? Mm-hmm. And I'm not aware of it, and we'll try to look into it, et cetera. But no matter what, those are people from those districts in those states. That is absolutely clear, right? Because I love that guy that was addressing Senator Grassley, just like you did, right? Because look, you can tell how genuine he is, not just from his appearance and his accent and yada yada, but because he says, I don't want you to repeal it, I want you to fix it. It's not like he's like a big like, hey, Obamacare is perfect and I got paid to say this, right? Yeah. He's like, I want you to make it better, I want you to improve it, but I don't want you to just yank my insurance away from me, because then I might actually die. I mean, that's the death panel we're talking about. Yeah. That guy was as real as he could possibly be. Yeah. So that was amazing. And then I also love how educated they are, because Representative Womack says, oh, you guys want me to investigate everything. And the guy yells out, what about Benghazi? But in case you didn't know, and I didn't know until today, although I could have guessed it with any Republican in Congress, but Representative Womack co-sponsored a bill to investigate Benghazi.
Yeah. So, and they've spent millions and millions of taxpayer dollars investigating it.
Yeah, and so when he says, oh, you guys just want me to investigate everything, he means like, oh, I like investigating Democrats and hurting their political chances, but when it comes to us, I won't investigate a damn thing.
Yeah, he said, you want me to investigate everybody? It's the president. He's pretty distinct out of everybody. I think he stands out. And also, I love that you brought up the thing about him paying the $50. And a lot of people, like if you told a Trump supporter that he paid $50, you'd be like, they'd probably say, well, look, it was his first event for the campaign. There wasn't a lot of enthusiasm yet. But But if you listen to him, he's been a ratings juggernaut for years with a gigantic show and celebrity status, but he couldn't get people to show up for a press release? Anyway, but as Cenk said, Trump and other Republicans are desperately trying to deny that this actually represents anything, perhaps because they know they can't get their supporters to show up in these sorts of numbers. But in this tweet, he says the so-called angry crowds, which, by the way, it's not so-called. You think they're angry crowds. You just don't think they're legitimate. So that's ridiculous. But are in numerous cases planned out by liberal activists. Sad. Now, I responded on Twitter that even if it was liberal activists that are planning that, those are American citizens on both sides of that equation. Liberal activists are American citizens who get to engage with politicians.
Yeah, no. The only thing that would be untoward is if people were getting paid, like Trump supporters, right? But if it turns out liberal activists were mad and so they came out to be active, that's called democracy. and by the way, they're mad about something. That's why they were activated to come out and oppose it. If you had done something mild, they probably wouldn't come out very angry. If you said, hey, look, let's tweak Obamacare and improve it a little bit so that your prices go down, I don't think liberal activists would have put together spreadsheets and figured out where to protest you, right? They're worried they're going to lose their insurance. That's why they're so mad. But I'm never going to get over that the President of the United States ends tweets with sad.
He still does it.
Can you imagine if President Obama was like, Republicans are shills that are paying their activists? Sad. People would know what?
It would have been a laughing stock.
Yeah.
But Trump doesn't mind that because he's used to it. I want to go to this video, though, because it's not just like just his tweet. This is now the official position of his administration, which is going to be demonstrated right here.
The president referred to so-called angry crowds at these town halls. Is he suggesting this is manufactured anger, that this is not real anger and real concern?
Yeah, thanks. I think there's a hybrid there. I think some people are clearly upset, but there is a bit of professional protester manufactured base in there. When you look at some of these districts and some of these things, it is not a representation of a member's district or an incident. It is a loud group, small group of people disrupting something in many cases for media attention. No offense. It's just, I think that necessarily, just because they're loud doesn't necessarily mean that there are many.
Saying that resistance to your policies isn't representative is an ironic position for an administration that lost the popular vote to take, I would think.
Well, I mean, look, I can't stand politicians on both sides. When Republicans were back in 2009 protesting Obamacare in the first place and going to town hall events, the Democrats are like, oh, it's unrepresentative. And then they got their ass handed to them in the next election, by the way. So apparently it was a little representative. And now the Republicans have turned around and said, oh, it's unrepresentative. It's a small crowd. Wait a minute. Almost every one of these that is reported on, it's jam-packed. And whatever arena they're in is gone, right? It's not, I was going to say sold out, but they don't sell tickets to town halls, right? And there's lines out the door, et cetera, 200 seats, et cetera. Now, that doesn't mean that Senator Chuck Grassley is going to lose a seat in Iowa. You know, you can't judge elections just by a couple of, crowds. And Mitt Romney made that mistake back in 2012. So we all understand that, and it all goes back to the polling at the end. And by the way, if you go to the polling today, Trump is at 38.55 underwater, 17 points underwater in favorability. So you've got the nationwide polling that indicates on a mass scale he's unpopular. Locally, you've got these angry crowds that are jam-packed in every single place that they're holding him. That's also another indication. So yeah, there's some anger in the country. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean every one of those politicians is going to lose. That's a different scenario. But if they think that this anger is somehow just manufactured and is not real at all, good. Think that, and just be complacent, and let's see what happens in 2018.
Yeah, and the reason that I wanted to show that particular clip is you're going to find yourself in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, it's going to be a weekend, and you're exhausted after a difficult week, and then you see a notification on Facebook of a pro-science march or a women's march or a march to support immigrants or something like that, and you're going to think, I'm a little bit tired, and I've already protested several times. But just remember that Trump says that you guys don't really care, and the only reason you're going is when you're told to by George Soros. So next time you're feeling a little bit lazy, remember that that's how they want you to feel. But anyway, a couple quick other updates about these town halls, because that was a great mashup JR put together. But this is even broader. There was an event for Tom Emmer. His chief of staff said in advance of a town hall, after news had started to spread, should this event turn into a disruptive display, or if there are any violent actions or threats, we will end the meeting and be forced to reassess our policy on town halls going forward.
Ooh.
Obviously, if there's violence, sure. But if it's disruptive, we might not have any at all, okay?
And by the way, he mentioned violence, but when pressed on, what do you mean disruptive? He said shouting.
Yeah.
So if they're shouting at a political event, we won't have political events anymore. We will not cancel democracy because someone shouted.
Yes.
Right.
God,
This reminds me of the chair brandishing in the Democratic Party in Nevada. Right. They were too loud. The Bernie Sanders supporters were too loud. Democracy must be shut down.
I love the idea of representative government, but someone raised their voice. Also, as hundreds of protesters gathered at the Montana State Capitol for a speech from Senator Steve Daines on Tuesday, the lawmaker postponed his address less than 2 hours before he was scheduled to speak. His office said the delay had nothing to do with the protest. He just all of a sudden didn't show up. And then you remember Brat said that the women are getting in his grill? Well, he's quickly finding that was a poor choice of words. Let's bring up this picture. It's starting to spread. This grandma drove 165 miles to be in your grill, Mr. Brat, and no one paid me to be here. We pay to be here. And she's got a little grill in her sign.
And it says, do your job.
Yeah. Now, this is great. It's not just on the Republican side. Thankfully, it's happening on the Democratic side, too. But it is spreading, and I hope that it lasts.
So the Dave Brat one's great in particular because Dave Brat ran as a populist and had a historic upset win in a primary against Eric Cantor, who's one of the leaders of the Republicans in the House. It had never happened before that a leader of that stature had lost a primary competition. And Dave Brat ran against the big banks. That was really interesting as a Republican and as a total populist. Now when he actually is in office and he's super comfortable and getting those good checks from the donors and the lobbyists, all of a sudden, I do declare the people are getting in my grill. Off you go, people. Okay? Where are the good banks? There you go, Jolly-O. I don't think Jolly-O is a thing, but that's okay.
It's good enough. We'll add it.
Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free. TYTnetwork.com/join. Come join us today.